Thank you so much for coming. Oh, we have such a wonderful event for you tonight. Whitney Hanson's here, as you all know, and her incredible book is just so beautiful, so moving. I hope you all have a chance to purchase it or at least take a look at it. So, welcome to Book Passage. My name is Cheryl Bronstein. I'm one of the event coordinators here, and just really, really happy to welcome you to an in-person event. So if you haven't been back with us for a while, welcome back. We have a very busy calendar for December, January, February, March, lots and lots of incredible events going on almost every day here at Book Passage. We have virtual events, in-person events, we have off-site events, and you can find all of that information on our website at bookpassage.com. So if you are wondering what's going on, well, take a look, bookpassage.com. And I am going to just kind of promote a few of the things we have going on Thursday, this Thursday, December 7th at 1 p.m. here in our Corte Madera store. Our wonderful bookstore owner, Elaine Petrocelli, is going to be doing her annual holiday book talk. And if you have never seen that before, oh, it is well worth it. You can come into the store. You can also watch online. It is completely free. She goes over all of her favorite books for the holidays for the 2023 year, fiction, nonfiction, memoir, cooking, art books, nature books, sci-fi. So whatever your passion is, she will touch on it. And it is really, it's just a great way and a very efficient way to learn about wonderful books for the holiday season. And then on Sunday, January 7th, again, here in Corte Madera at 1 p.m., we'll be hosting the Pulitzer Prize winning author Michael Cunningham. And he has a new novel out titled Day. It is a wonderful book. I have had a chance to read it. So please come for that. And again, lots and lots of different events, free events, ticketed events for Cooks with Books, lots of things going on. It's all on our calendar, bookpassage.com. And our mission here at Book Passage is to enrich, engage, and inspire. And Book Passage has been a Bay Area institution for over 40 years. We're so proud of that, and we extend our gratitude to our loyal customers for keeping us around. Thank you for coming in and shopping, and we hope to be around to serve you for another 40 years. Well, poet and TikTok sensation Whitney Hanson has written a new masterpiece, Harmony, which explores all the complexities that life has and focuses on tragedy. When losing someone you love, the feelings and the ultimate journey to heal. Hanson crafts poems about grief, comparing the process of human emotion to those of writing a song. Harmony illustrates Hanson's effort to marry the person she was before she lost someone she deeply loved, and with the person she became after they passed. To put it simply, Hanson indeed makes music with her poetry. And tonight, we get the joy of listening to that music. Whitney Hanson is the author of Home and Climate. Whitney's writing touches on love, loss, healing, and embracing both light and heavy moments in life. Through Whitney's vulnerability and authenticity, she has connected with thousands of readers, and she believes poetry is not a dead language, but rather it is the key to unlocking true vulnerability, which leads to deeper connections with one another. Whitney lives in South Carolina. We are so blessed that she has come all the way to our little humble Marin County outpost here to present her work. So I am very pleased to host her this evening. Please give a very warm welcome to this stellar poet, TikTok star, amazing writer, Whitney Hanson.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and to have all of you here. I always have to walk and talk, so I have to grab the mic and take it. But first of all, I wanted to say a few thank yous. Thank you to Book Passage for hosting me, and a big thank you to my publisher, Penguin Life, for setting this all up. And then just thank you to you for showing up here and showing up for poetry. one thing that I really deeply believe in is that poetry isn't a dead language. And it's super exciting for me to see all of your faces and all of you show up for poetry. I think that poetry is something that a lot of people think of as old-fashioned or maybe too intellectual to the point that maybe we don't understand it. A lot of times poets use like really deep metaphors and you feel confused. And one thing that's really important to me is making poetry accessible to everyone and making it something that makes everyone feel understood and makes me feel understood. So that's me and how I feel about poetry. But thank you for coming tonight. I was trying to figure out how I was going to introduce myself, and I had a lot of different ideas, and I couldn't figure out like what I was going to say for sure. And then I was like, why wouldn't I just write a poem about it? So this first poem I'm going to start with isn't from my book Harmony. It's just something that I wrote to introduce myself. So here it goes. Hi, my name is Whitney. I was born on December 21st, the winter solstice, the day of the year with the least amount of sunlight, the day of the year where people release a sigh of relief that the days can only get brighter from here on out. I'm not sure exactly what that says about me. Maybe that I have a lot of darkness inside, or maybe that I have a lot of potential for light. I often feel like a walking contradiction. I'm a bit of hope, a bit of despair. I love people, but I also can't stand them. I think I want to be happy, but sadness feels like a more familiar friend. I desperately want to be loved, but I often find myself running away when love starts to get too close. I am absolutely certain of almost nothing, but I am certain of this. I want to be understood. More than anything, I want to be understood. I want someone to look me in my eyes and say, I see you. I know you. I am you. So I write. I throw all of my hope and despair, my light, my darkness, my love, my hate into the void, and I hope that someone out there is listening. Are you listening? Thanks. I wanted to give a little bit of a backstory about who I am and how I got here. I started writing when I was like 16 years old, and I was just a girl in her bedroom writing and not really sharing it with anyone. I really was just using it as a coping mechanism to get through things that I was going through. And then I started sharing some of my poetry on social media when I was a freshman in college. I had like maybe 52 followers, and they were like my close family and friends. And so it wasn't really something I was pursuing. I never had a big dream of being an author. I just didn't think that that was something that was attainable. And so I just was sharing my art. And then COVID happened. I went through a really rough period in my life, which a lot of people did. And I got my heart broken. And so I started writing my first book, Home. And that book is all about romantic heartbreak. And then I self-published it. I didn't think that anyone would really read it. I had gained a little bit of a following by then on social media for poetry, but I wasn't sure that it would be a very big success. I didn't know what was going to happen. I always say that if I would have known how many people were going to read it, I don't know if I would have been brave enough to publish it. So I originally self-published it, and then just this past year, Penguin Life Publishing Company picked up Home and republished it. And then my third book, because I actually self-published another one in between, Climate, but my third book, which we're here to talk about today, is Harmony. And this book, in some ways, I think, is almost like a prerequisite to the other book, because it is about my childhood and the loss of my childhood best friend. And so this book really kind of sets up the feelings of like abandonment that I dealt with later, the feelings of lack of trust that people are going to stay, because I think when you experience grief or loss at a really young age, it's hard to find trust in anything again, to love anything. And so this book is kind of about the way that love changes when you experience grief. I am going to kind of go through the 4 sections of the book and read a few poems from each section. Each section has a musical theme because I love metaphors. I love how they help me understand the world and understand myself. And so I'm going to kind of go through each section, explain the metaphor behind each section, and then read a couple poems from each section. The first section of harmony is melody. And this section is all about everything simple, because in music, a melody is just one line of notes. It's not complex. And so this section is about childhood and love before loss and kind of the beauty of that simplicity. So this first poem is just a love poem that I wrote for my best friend. When I tell you that you are the sun to me, I don't mean the sun in mid-July, when everything feels warm and you have to squint your eyes. I mean the sun in the dead of winter, when I haven't seen the clouds part in weeks, when I felt cold for so long that I can't recall how it feels to be warm. Suddenly, you arrive from behind my overcast sky and remind me what it is to feel light. So when I say that you are the sun to me, I don't mean to sound cliche. It's just that before you, my skies were always gray. This next poem is also from the section Melody. It's less of a poem and more of a dialogue. So, do you think that you'll forget me someday when we are grown and we live in different states? She asked. I don't think so, I said. But this is what I should have said. I will remember you every time someone makes me laugh, or each time someone gives me a space to share a secret that has been burning in my chest. I will remember you when someone picks up the phone at an inconvenient time, or whenever someone holds me when I cry. How does one forget a person who taught me so much about friendship? To forget you would be to forget how to love. The next section is probably the saddest, darkest section. It is called Rest. So in music, a rest is a silence in music. And I think that when we experience grief in life, it kind of feels like the whole world goes silent. Everything just kind of stops, or it feels like it should stop anyway. And so that's why I titled this section Rest. This first poem is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm just going to read it. 91.95 million miles. The distance between the Earth and the sun. But the sun rises every day, and I see her. The sun sets every night, and I say goodbye. 6 feet. The distance between your heart and mine. But somehow it feels further than the distance between the Earth and the sun, 91.95 million miles, and I watch the sunset every night. 6 feet, and I never really got the chance to say goodbye. This next poem is about how when you lose someone you love, whether it is someone dies or someone just leaves your life, whatever circumstances, I think that when you lose someone you love, you lose a piece of yourself as well. So this poem is about that. Death is a villain that doesn't ever take one victim at a time. Today I'm holding a funeral for the part of me that died with you, the part of me that loved easily and viewed the world through innocent eyes. I'm picking flowers for the ceremony, decorating the walls of my heart, hanging pictures of the girl that was me, but isn't anymore. I'm mourning myself, crying over the gravestone of memories that used to belong to us but only belong to me now. Death is a villain that doesn't ever take one victim at a time. When they buried your heart in the dirt, they also buried mine. So the next section in the book is crescendo. So in music, that's when you have a gradual increase in music. So this is where I think that I start finding the music in life again after loss. And so this is kind of a love letter almost written to my friend afterwards. And it's just kind of me trying to find peace with the situation. The heart is a muscle, and like all muscles, it has memory, the unconscious ability to repeat what it knows. My heart knows you. It knows the pattern of your breathing and the sound of your laughter. It knows the way your sock-covered feet sound on tile in the morning. My heart knows the look on your face when you're concentrating. It knows the strain in your eyes and the twitch of your nostrils when you're trying to hold back tears. It knows you as if it has known you for 1,000 years. And although my heart would continue to learn you until the end of time, my heart knows that occasionally forever becomes redefined by fate or mortality or poor timing. Forever falls apart sometimes. So, if mortality takes you, if fate is unkind, if forever falls apart, there are a million neurological pathways that spell your name in my heart. This next one is about how when you're grieving, I think that a lot of times you think that you need to hold on to your pain because it is all you have left of that person. So a lot of times we almost grieve for longer than we need to just because we can't let go of the pain. And so this one is kind of a letter to myself, but then also a letter to you to remember that it's okay to let go. When you're grieving, people always like to tell you to take as long as you need. It's okay to feel your pain for as much time as you need, but I think it is important for you to hear this too. It's okay to stop grieving. It's okay if it doesn't hurt anymore. You don't have to feel guilty for not being in pain. Your healing does not invalidate how deep your wound once was. Your growth does not erase your love. So the last section of harmony is harmony. And this section is kind of, so in music, a harmony is when there's multiple lines of music layered on top of each other, and it kind of creates more depth and a more beautiful sound. And so the idea of this is just the realization that life is more beautiful because it is temporary, and grief might make it more difficult to love, but it also makes love have more depth. And so that's what this section is about. The first poem that I'm going to read from this section is kind of about my childhood and the way that I coped with these feelings of grief and the reason that I coped with them the way that I coped with them. I think it's also about blame. When we lose someone we love, a lot of times we are looking for anything and anyone to blame, and often the finger gets pointed at ourselves because we don't have anywhere else to go. And so for a long time, I feel like I blamed myself for what happened. And so this one is kind of me giving myself permission to not feel guilty, and giving you permission to not feel guilty as well. I grew up with the understanding that good experiences were a reward and bad experiences were a punishment. So you can imagine that when my best friend died, I felt like it was some sort of judgment upon me. I scrutinized myself in pursuit of the moment I went wrong. I carried the weight of her fate on my shoulders like a well-kept secret. I have come to know that sometimes terrible tragedies happen to good people. Without explanation or justification, I have finally stopped blaming myself for circumstances that were so out of my control. Now this is what I need you to know. Your experiences are not a reflection of your character. You are good, light, and kind. You are not deserving of all of the darkness you have experienced or the injustice you have seen. Nothing you have done has warranted this cruelty. Sometimes the world is just mean. This last one is just a reminder that you can begin again. The reality is that nothing is yours to keep forever. So you borrow time, love, and joy. You check them out like books from a library, and you try not to spend your life mourning moments in time or missing people who were never yours to keep. Instead, you cherish each page you turn, you stain some with tears, you're filled with joy on others, and when it is over, you place the books back on the shelf, and you cry for the end of one story while you pick up the next book. This is how you begin again. Thanks. So that kind of concludes me sharing about the book, but I wanted to do a little Q&A portion now, and so if you have any questions.
So if you have a question, just raise your hand. I'm going to hand you the mic so we can all hear. I'll play Oprah here.
Hi, thanks so much for the reading. It was really beautiful.
Thanks. Hi.
Do you have any mentors or big inspiration that you pull from?
Yeah, one big inspiration for me is music. So I think that I listen to a lot of musicians that inspire me. Some that inspire me are Gracie Abrams, Phoebe Bridgers, Noah Kahn. So those are some of the musicians that inspire me. I don't necessarily have a mentor, but there are a lot of other authors that I pull inspiration from as well. One that really stands out to me is Rupi Kaur, because when I was 16, that was the first poet that I started reading, and I think that she was my realization that poetry could be something that I could write, and it could be something simple. And so I think that I credit her a lot with my start in writing poetry. Anybody else?
Hi. So I just want to say that I had no idea who you were before tonight. My friend Dana brought me here, but I'm so struck at how young you are and how wise you are. So I guess I just want to know a little bit more about, I mean, certainly what I've gathered is you've had some things happen in your life that have brought you here at this point, like some pretty significant events, but also just sort of, do you describe yourself as someone from a very young age that was very introspective? I'm just very curious about how young and wise you are.
Well, thank you, first of all. I think I've always been a person who asks a lot of questions. And so I think maybe that is part of it. I think that also when you go through really hard things at a young age, obviously you kind of have to grow up quickly at that age. And so maybe that's also a part of it. But I think that it's also maybe just part of who I am.
So you're a writer, you're a content creator, you're an artist by all means, but are there other mediums we don't know about that you're creating in?
Yeah, I started writing music actually before I ever started writing poetry. So I do like to write songs and lyrics to songs. That's probably even I think music is actually my favorite form of art. And like my favorite form of art to create is probably music as well. I'm just a little more scared to share music. So that's the path that I think I hope to go down eventually. But yeah, music's really important to me.
Okay, we're going to ask, we have a question from one of our online viewers. Where is your favorite place to write?
Probably in my car. I tend to write just wherever I am. I think that poetry is happening where life is happening. And so when I'm writing, it's just wherever I feel inspired. But I think that I feel inspired often in my car. And so whether I'm like the passenger or whether I just park in a random parking lot and sit and write, I think that that's my place.
How old were you when your best friend passed?
I was 16. She was 15. So,
One over here.
First, just thank you for your work. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm curious how it feels to you to be sharing things that are so vulnerable, especially on formats that are social in nature. If that's like been a positive thing or how that feels for you.
Yeah, I think there's a part of me that kind of goes in denial when I am posting on social media, and I think maybe that's the only way that I'm able to post in such a public way. I don't think about how many people are really seeing it, and then going on this book tour has been kind of an emotional roller coaster as well, because it's like all of a sudden I'm really seeing people, and it's definitely a different experience having to talk about this up in front of people and actually interacting with people. So I think that I spent a lot of my time when I was younger suppressing feelings and not necessarily talking about them out loud. And so maybe that has made me better at getting up in front of you and talking about these feelings, which is kind of a blessing and a curse. But yeah.
So, quick question, and I could probably Google it, I guess, but I'm a college advisor, so I work with a lot of young adults, and I'm just curious how you found the confidence in this path and what your undergraduate work looked like or where you went to college.
Yeah, I started out, it was it was a roller coaster too. I had no idea what I was doing with my life. I was like going to college. I was on an athletic scholarship actually. And so I felt like I needed to go to school because I was on this scholarship, but I had no idea what I wanted to go to school for. I started out studying sign language interpretation, and then I eventually just kind of just wasn't sure. So then I switched to business because everyone told me that if you're not sure, switch to business. And so I was a business marketing major, which has been good in some ways because it's allowed me, like I learned how to build my own website and things like that. And it's helped me a little bit on this career path, but it wasn't really the plan. I think I really wasn't pursuing writing as a career until maybe my senior year of college. And so it was helpful to be doing a business degree. I also think that I'm glad that I didn't go for maybe a writing degree or an English degree because writing stayed something that I was really passionate about. And I think sometimes you lose passion for something when you are forced to do it. So I think that the path I took led me to where I am, and it's good, but it was just kind of all over the place.
All right, we're going to again to one of our online viewers. What is your favorite Noah Kahn song?
Oh, oh goodness. Probably Call Your Mom. I don't know if anyone knows that one, but
Someone have a question here?
Thanks. I'm, I guess, one of your newer followers. I just kind of came across you on Instagram, and one of your poems was so helpful to me in terms of I married someone who's a widow, and hearing your grief and it helped me understand other perspectives of grief and healing. And you have beautiful words about love and healing. That was just really beautiful. And so I wanted to say thank you for that. And some of the stuff that you post isn't in your books. Are you thinking about another book or your next phase of maybe just doing music or publishing more? Just curious on plans.
yeah, I'm kind of constantly writing, and the thing about a book is that, especially when originally I was self-published, and with self-publishing, you kind of can write a book and have it out in like 3 months or something like that. With traditional publishing, the process is a little bit longer. And so, like Harmony, I wrote Harmony over a year ago now. And so, a lot of the stuff that I'm writing, I just want to get it out in the world and I want to share it. And so, I just share it on social media, even though it's not really in a book yet. And so, some of it I put in future books if it's something that I really like. But really, a big part of social media for me is that instant, like I share a feeling when I'm having that feeling, and then I get that instant feedback of other people who are having that same feeling, and it's really a connection for me, and I like that about it. So I do share a lot of poems that aren't actually published. Thanks.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for this safe space. Thank you for your words. Resonates deeply. So I'm curious about your process of healing through grief. Aside from music and writing, what other avenues have you taken to support yourself, or what do you recommend for your community?
I think well, I probably have two things. The first one would be to find people who understand what you're going through or maybe are going through it at the same time as you. For me, so my friend had a little sister, and she was a couple years younger, and I was so fortunate to have her in my life after it happened because we really just leaned on each other and were able to cope with it together. So that would be the first thing. The other thing that I did is, like I said, I was a college athlete. So I think that a lot of the reason that I was a college athlete was because I went through this at age 16, because after I went through it, I did track and field and cross country. I started running like crazy because I just needed somewhere to put all of those feelings and all that energy. And so I started running competitively, and I think that that's half the reason I even got as far as I did with running was because I just had a lot of emotions that needed to go somewhere. So if you can find something active to do, I think that's always good too. I think that for me, writing is like a way for me to process my feelings, and then running is a way for me to not process my feelings, to like escape my feelings. And so I think that if you can find something that helps you process those feelings, a space that you can process them in, and that maybe that's having a friend or writing or whatever it is. And then if you can also find something that allows you to get away from those feelings, whether that's like comedy or just something feels completely separate, I think that that's a good thing. Yep, thanks for asking.
As you have written about grief, Do you, in this book, write about the different kinds of grief, or do you think grief is so universal that no matter when you're writing about it, is the feedback that you're getting that people can take it however they want it, but it's a universal thing? Or do you delve into different aspects and different kinds of grief?
I think I speak mostly just from my personal perspective and things that I went through, because that's what I feel like I can speak about. But I do think that there are a lot of different themes included in Harmony, and I think that anyone who has any experience with grief can probably relate to some aspect of the book, maybe not all of it. But I do think that you can find something, even if your grief is not loss of a loved one or even a death. It could just be someone came up to me after one of my events and said that he had recently lost his job and that the book was helping him process that grief. So I think that there's just ways that everyone can connect to the book.
Thank you so much for sharing and just creating safe space and vulnerability. I'm wondering, what advice or guidance would you give towards new writers who are just exploring what it means to them and they're taking risks and trying to put themselves out there without becoming discouraged, or just some advice for new writers?
I think one thing that I didn't have at first that I really wish I would have had was a community. And so I would find other writers that are maybe doing the same things that you're doing, or if you're like working on a book or something like that, find someone else who has published a book or is working on a book and just reach out to them, because I think that now my writing community and all the people who follow me are a huge support system for me, and I didn't have that at first, and it would have been really helpful.
Very mundane question. Where did you go to college?
I went to 2 different universities. So I started out at a public university in North Dakota called Minot State University. It's a pretty small school. And then I transferred to a university in South Carolina, Anderson University, and it's a smaller private university. So yeah, I transferred universities about the same time that I was writing home, and so that was like my first book, and I was going through a lot at that time. And so if you read the book, you can kind of understand why I had to leave.
Now that you mention home, when I first read that book, it helped me a lot because I was going through a breakup actually. And I just want to say thank you because it really helped me to understand that it was not me. Thank you so much.
I'm glad it helped. Thanks.
Okay, we got another question.
When you're writing stuff that's so personal to you, how do you deal with people who criticize it? And I think you have like a poem like in the book about that too.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a poem in the book where I write to the critic, and basically I say like, who are you to tell me how to fall apart on paper? And I think that I have a really hard time dealing with criticism, truthfully. I don't take it well. I don't read like 1-star reviews on Goodreads or whatever, because I don't handle them very well. I wish I could say I was better at it, but that's the reason that I wrote that poem, was because it was kind of a way of freeing myself from that, to say, this is my story and this is my heartbreak, and take it as you will, but who are you to say anything about the way my heart breaks?
All right, I'm going to read one of the comments from our online viewers, and then we may wrap it up. because Whitney's going to take photos and she's going to sign the books. All right, here's a comment from one of our online viewers. My grandfather passed away earlier this year, and harmony has helped me so much. Thank you, Whitney.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I think we are going to we are going to close the event now and open it up to the really fun party atmosphere because she's going to sign and take photos. So that's what we're all here for. All right, Whitney, thank you so much.